In town, they tell the story of the marsh girl, the one who grew up alone in the wild. But they never really knew me. Like most stories, the facts don't weigh into it.
I think the character of Kaya and Where the Crawdads Sing really speaks to contemporary times. She's a woman who's underestimated, and she's also a woman who finds herself in a situation where she doesn't have the recourse to help herself.
Miss Catherine Clark is charged with the murder of Chase Andrews. Prosecution has announced it will seek the death penalty.
She's living in a specific time period where there are no recourses for women, and specifically women who are victims of domestic violence. And today, things have changed, but I think women are still finding themselves in situations where the law is not always there to protect us.
I know you have a world of reasons to hate these people.
No, I never hated them. They hated me. You want me to beg for my life? I won't.
I'm going to get out of here, one way or the other.
From my very first meeting with Polly, I was super excited to work with her, both because of the breadth of work that she had done prior to Crawdads, but also because she approached the material in a very similar way that I do, which is always from story and from the emotional story that we're trying to tell through the visual language.
I mean, I would say that the way we approach this material is that we really wanted to bring the viewer into her life and help them experience why she loved the march so much. Where the Crawdads Sing, takes place over different time periods and also is split between present-day courtroom and the story of Kaya's life. So, when we were talking about how to approach the movie, we knew that the present day would be filmed with richer contrast and would be a little bit more punchy than, the retelling of Kaya's life. That was one very specific look. And then over the different time periods, obviously from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, the look subtly shifted, the color shifted. But when you're out in the marsh working with natural light, especially out on the water when you can't control, or soften the light on the actor's face, we really had to rely a lot on careful planning in order to make sure we photographed the image in the way that we intended. And I think sometimes not being able to control the light out on water in a mist of heavy trees, your contrast ratio is incredibly high. So you've got highlights kicking off the water, you've got deep shadows in the trees, and really you want to expose it in a way that captures all of these things while still making sure that the skin tone stays in the place that you need it to.
Be careful. You're by your lonesome out there.
I will not
Live in fear.
There were no footprints, fingerprints, nothing. Someone destroyed evidence.
We'd always go back to the book as sort of our Bible. In a book, there's, so much more than you can fit into a movie, but it's, hopefully you get some of that amazing material into the subtext of what's happening emotionally in the scene, or, a paragraph description of a landscape can turn into, one shot that really, paints visually what is described so lyrically in the book. So it was absolutely our source and inspiration for all of those choices. In general, every time we got to go out into the marsh and shoot, it was very emotional. The scene where little Kaya gets lost in the marsh and is overwhelmed by the necklaces of grass, and it's like a maze and she can't see her way home. Finding those spots it felt like such an honor. We got this beautiful shot at sunset, and then we were riding home in the boats, and I just started to cry because I just felt, overwhelmed being out in that beauty. And it's stressful when you're shooting because you're just trying to get so much done in a day. But then when you have those moments at the end of the day when you're riding home and you finally have, accomplished what you set out to do, and you actually get to appreciate the landscape, it was always very moving to me.
There was a lot of time sat in our cars waiting for lightning and worried about what set we could shoot in because all our sites were flooded. But what it really did do is it really brought us together in a way that sometimes disasters can. And, we persevered, which was so brilliant. And we had to keep changing our plans all the time. Like our weeks, the schedules kept changing and shifting, and no one knew what was going on. But ultimately, we came through and we got it done. So it was almost more rewarding because of the challenges that we faced. So Dolby Vision, it really helps bring all that to life. Really see like the eye sees at night, where your eye gets adjusted to the brightness and you can see into the dark and you can look into the light. You can sit there and be completely consumed by the sounds of the marsh. You can reap the benefits of Dolby Vision and see all the highlights bouncing off the leaves or the reflection of the light in the water, and it's kind of the epitome of what we wanted people to experience when we made the movie.
It's a dangerous world, isn't it?
I don't know if there is a dark side to nature. It's just inventive ways to endure. Against all odds.